Here we are, the third and final part of this lovely restoration. We finished part 2 right here, and I have the stock, and now we just need to drill some holes in it, attach it, and fix this barrel. I have scrubbed and cleaned and scrubbed again, and she's shiny, but she's not going to stay shiny for long, so I'm going to coat her in some oil and just, like rub her in. So now that the stock is all smoothed up, I just need to drill 2 holes. One to hold this here spring, and one to mount it to the metal bit, like in there somewhere. Now the last thing I need to do with the stock is drill this little hole here, and it goes on the top right here-ish, and I have it marked out, and I have a screw for it, and I've purposely chosen a slotted head. So now with the 1, 2, 3 holes drilled, I can assemble it all. So the first thing is to add the trigger and this bolt. Then to add the stock with the spring trigger, the back, via this bolt. And then finally I can attach the shiny new screw on top. And now the stock is successfully added and it's rigid strong, but I have one more thing to do, and that is add a new barrel. And for that, I have this piece, and it might be a bit too long. So how I plan to do this is I'm going to chop off the barrel about here, and that'll give me a wee stub, and onto that stub will fit this coupler, and the external diameter of this is 20, and the internal of this is 19. That's a snug fit, very, but I can cut it down and taper it a wee bit. But the important thing is I want to weld it to give it a strong permanent bond. But I only have an electronic arc welder. Electric? Yes, electric arc welder. And that requires both metals to be iron. So, quick test. Yep, body of this contains iron. And yep, body of this contains iron. We're all good. Now that I've chopped off the end, I'm just going to file it, and that'll give it a taper as such on the edge. This is the barrel here, and this is the piece of pipe that I have, and there's a small gap here which is I'm actually going to leave because the weld is going to fill up that gap, and then I can smooth it out with a flap disc. The problem is I'm not sure how long to make it. Might be a bit long. With the barrel removed from the gun, I can now chop it to length. But safety first. So this is the join between the extension and the barrel, and there's a little dip here where the weld is going to go. Now, my welding isn't complete bollocks, but it's not also pristine. So for something small, fine, and very accurate like this, I'm going to pass it on to someone with better skills. So it's all welded now, and it does look a bit rough, but that's alright. I'm going to file it down. But before I get to that, I'm going to take the flap disc and smooth out the extension. Now with all that flap disking done, I have a very shiny barrel and a dodgy looking weld. So I'm going to clean this up, then sandpaper this down, and somehow I'm going to try and dull it. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. So I've sanded it with 400 grit and it's all lovely and smooth and oiled. So now I just need to file away at this weld. So I've done a bit of an oopsie. This bit here was starting to come off the gun and I needed to stick it in a sort of way. So I've used this super glue, or CA glue for you Americans. And as with super glue, you have two options: get it all over your hands or make the thing not stick. And I got it all over my hands and I'm hoping it is stuck, and not the clamp. The clamp's probably stuck to it, but the big oopsie is I had it upright and it all ran down the whole gun, so now I need to clean all that. Fun. With that super glue sorted, the last thing I have to do is this nail. And it's a nail because, well, you know, it's a straight shaft and a nail head on it. Now, it isn't just decorational. The nail actually serves a purpose, and that purpose is basically to let the gun work. So the nail comes down here and holds back the spring. Now, I'm going to put a video here on a chap who explains exactly how this gun works, and it was very interesting, and that's how I figured it out. But anyway, that nail needs to be there, but it doesn't look very good. So instead, I'm going to take off the top and cut this shape into it, and that will basically turn the nail into an iron sight. The finishing touch can now be added in here. Ooh. There we go. A bit of a wiggle. And line it up. And there we go. It's done. So this is the perspective you'll see if you're shooting down the barrel. And you can just about see that little knot. And if you're getting shot at, this is what you'll see. Pretty big barrel. Like, there's my finger. It's a bit big looking, but sure, it'll do. Almost forgot one more thing to do. Trim off this bolt. And it is all done. It is lovely. The only problem is I want to put it on the wall, show it off. But I need some kind of holster thingy, so that's what I'm going to make next. But the gun is why you're here, so thank you very much for watching. Part 1 will be available here and part 2 here, and you can subscribe here.